Alright, so today we're going to go over how we do our door locks from Cayenne. So if we press this button, how do we get the servo to actually rotate in the on and in the off position, or open and closed position? So we've already kind of seen how these channels work when we create their functions in Energia. So if we look at door lock, we'll see in channel 10 that channel 10 controls the servo of door locks. But how do these servos work? Well, they do use the PWM, and the statement to note is the PWM dot set PWM, and what it does is on the LAN board, if you wanted to control the low side switch, you would, so the PWM2, so this is exactly that single PWM that you want to talk to, or PWM driver. So it turns, this statement is when you want the pulse to turn on within a 0 to 4096 width. What that means is that the PWM, the PCA 9685, has a resolution of 12 bits. And what that means is that you can set a width from 0 to 4095, and basically the 12-bit resolutions means how accurate you can get your pulse width to be. So when we go ahead and look into the code here, we've seen how we get a bool value for door state 0 or 1, depending on what you press here. So in this case, if we get a 0, door state is equal to 0, we equal the pulse, which is the value that comes in here, equal to the servo min. Servo min is 150. And so what happens is the on goes from low to high at 150, and then it comes back from high to low at 4095, and it goes back to 0. So as you can see here, the width is very large, but in our on our PCB board, we are programming low side switches, and on a low side switch, if you remember, the gate configuration actually turns off the gate when you signal it high. So that means that everything you see here would be flipped. So in actuality, we are setting a small pulse width when we set it to 150. So if I say increase this width, right, basically saying that I will increase the on position, so maybe 700. So that means that this width of the pulse has now gotten bigger. Same would go for this one. As you see, this pulse increased. That means that every time I increase the pulse, we are essentially making a larger and larger width, which means our servos are turning to its maximum position. So here, in this situation, we are saying when our value is 0, we equal it to the servo min, and then we pulse it up to the servo max. Now, of course, the reason it is flipped, say it would have been more convenient for us if this was 1, if it were to go to the max position, but since the servo is switched inside the room, that's why we reversed it. So if it was equal to 1, then we would equal our pulse width to equal the max position, meaning this is at its max pulse width. And remember, this is because we're setting the on value at a longer, at a higher value. So you get the idea. Sorry I didn't move all these. Wish I had a couple more ready, but As you can see, the pulse essentially just gets bigger. So here, remember, this is the on and off, and that is pretty much how we control the door locks in our home.